Hey, what's up, guys? So, today I was in my last class, my core, or my. What we have this weird period at the end. It's sort of like an elective, but not exactly. It was my Avid class. And in this class, we got an article. It was a Chicago Tribune article. And, you guys know me, I like to argue things. This is a feminist article. And they make some slightly agreeable points in it, but I honestly do not believe that any human being could agree with this kind of fucking idiotic cause. So basically what I'm gonna do is I'm going to read through the article. Why did I start with such low health? And after I read a paragraph, I will counter argument. I will present my counter argument on that paragraph. And what I disagree with more than this article is the fact that they're handing out this kind of article in schools. Alright, so I'm just going to shut down the gameplay because I can't really play a game. Oh, let me see. What should I open? Gallery? No, don't open that. What should I have no idea what the fuck to open in the background. Fallout Shelter, not Pixar, no. Fallout Shelter, just look at Fallout Shelter while I read this article. By the way, my phone's kind of switching between charging and not charging. So, yeah. Here I go. Over the last year, the stereotype of what it means to throw like a girl has received a lot of attention, both from the media and the public. Thanks to campaigns, commercials, and trending hashtags, many people reevaluated what the phrase meant to them. It made a serious effort to change its meaning. However, this did not solve all of the problems. There are still many sexist assumptions made about girls involved in sports that need to be faced. Listed below are some of these stereotypes these women deal with and why they are completely inaccurate assumptions. Well, a lot of the time these assumptions aren't exactly inaccurate. They are just easy to argue, or they're based off of evidence. Like throw like a girl is based on the fact that girls used to never really play sports that involve throwing, such as football and baseball. Girls still aren't in Major League Baseball or pro football for that matter. So really, I can't give you there aren't even any girls in professional basketball. So really, we have no genuine proof that girls can be really, really good at this kind of thing. And honestly, that's just a first grade insult that you got all fucking triggered about because you have nothing else to be mad about. Alright, paragraph 2. Number 1. When she says she likes a team, she probably doesn't know anything about it. Everyone has seen the meme where a boy texts a girl asking if she likes the team. And when she replies yes, tricks her into talking about a character from Jimmy Neutron, or some other random show as if they're a player on the team. However, not everyone knows every single player on the team to support. There are 25 players on a baseball team roster, 23 on a hockey team roster, and football can have up to 53 men on a roster. Additionally, the roster constantly fluctuates, especially in baseball, so it's pretty impossible to know every single person unless you study that team for a living, which most teenagers do not. Plus, you're allowed to like a team or sport and find it interesting without having to prove your interest by reciting random statistics about them. So let girls support whoever they want and stop quizzing them on trivial things for your own entertainment. While there are a few valid points in this rebuttal, right? I'll call it, I guess. I feel that it's less so about convincing people that it's not. I feel that it's less so about. It's less so filled with evidence and more so filled with chance. See, it says it's impossible that every single person you So it's pretty impossible that every single person you only study that team for, unless you only study that team for a living. Well, if you're a fan of a team, you should know their first and second offensive and defensive lineup, or for other sports, other lineups. See, 25 and 23 really aren't that hard. You could mostly name almost anybody on a professional baseball team, and while I will agree, sometimes that number does fluctuate. It doesn't fluctuate to the point where you just completely don't know. And if somebody's talking to you about a really good play that you saw in a game, then you should know who the player is. Honestly, it's not always true that you have to study something to know all the players. You don't have to know all the players on the team. It's just like with the Broncos, there's Von Miller, there was Peyton Manning. Those were two of the best players that you had seen throughout the season. If I were to ask a girl that said she was a fan of the Broncos about Von Miller, then yeah, sure, she'd be like, yeah, he's good. But if she didn't actually watch the game, I can tell if I were to ask her about a Jimmy Neutron character. See, if she watched the game, she would know about the good plays that happened in the game. Alright, I'm done with that one. 2. This one pissed me off on the most. 2. Girls don't understand how the game works. Many girls grow up playing basketball, baseball, basketball, football, and more in the backyard, right alongside their brothers. They will ask for help if they need it, but don't assume that do so just because they are girls. That's a spelling mistake. That's a grammar mistake. And they are incapable of understanding how the game works. There's no need to, quote-unquote, mansplain the intricacies of a sport. Most likely females have at least a general idea of how the sport works. Raised in a society where the culture is so heavily influenced by the sports industry, it's safe to say that most females will have had some type of exposure to sports through their life thus far. So cut them some slack when it comes to having to know the complete rule book for sport in order to be considered a true fan. First off, I want to address the word mansplain. I can't read that word without physically cringing, because in an article about unenforcing female stereotypes, it's hypocritical to put in a made-up male stereotype by the female audience. You're not exactly proving your point that stereotypes aren't good in a sense by inserting them into your article against them. Secondly, it says, so cut them some slack when it comes to having to know the complete rulebook for a sport in order to be considered a true fan. You don't have to know the complete rulebook in order to be considered a true fan, but if girls really like and want to play sports, it's good to know the rulebook, because you can get in some serious trouble in sports, like football. Unsportsmanlike conduct, you can get up to a 10-yard penalty. If you were to push somebody over and be like, and kind of like taunt them a bit, you can get a 10-yard penalty. And if a girl were to join that sport and then do that kind of thing, then she just screwed over her whole football team, and it's totally her fault. Honestly, it's expected that you should know rulebook. I mean, if you're a fan, no. I'll admit that most male fans don't know the complete rulebook of a football team, but if you actually have ever played the sport or want to play the sport, like the article is supposed to be talking about, then you should know the rules. 3. Girls watch sports just so they can talk about them with guys. Just because a girl's boyfriend likes the Cubs does not mean that she only likes the Cubs to impress him. As weird as it may sound, some girls actually like watching sports for their own enjoyment, not because they want to impress others. Now more than ever, girls in grade schools and higher schools are getting involved in sports, so it does make sense that a girl's love for playing soccer may translate into her love for cheering on the U.S. national team, just like their male counterparts. I don't fucking care that the room's on fire. Just like their male counterparts. Fucking shit, where was I? Just like their male counterparts, many young females involved in sports look to professional athletes as role models in their given sport. Because of this, it isn't that far stretched of an idea to say these aspiring female athletes and many others may watch sports for their own personal enjoyment. First off, I want to say it doesn't sound weird that somebody would watch that sport that a girl would watch that sport for her own enjoyment. You're just being overly cynical about it. Honestly, a girl can watch sports for enjoyment or not. In fact, most people watch sports just for that social aspect. Most human beings have made that conscious decision to watch sports because society likes sports. Society is prone to encourage sports to their young people. So no matter what age you are, what gender you are encouraged to watch sports so that you have something to talk about socially. And that is a huge reason that we like sports. And that a lot of that reason has evolved into people watching sports just because they're interested. But the main reason that sports are as popular as they are today is because people like to just have something to talk about. All right, 4. Girls watch sports because they think that the players are attractive. Believe it or not, many girls do actually find the game themselves entertaining. A lot of them play those sports that they are watching, like basketball and baseball. So it's only logical that they would have a genuine interest in it. It's true that some professional athletes like Kris Bryant from the Cubs may be of special interest to some female viewers. Despite this, attractiveness of athletes is seldom plays a large role in female viewership, especially because viewers usually can't even see the players up close at games or on TV. That's not at all true. In fact, almost every time that a player goes off in basketball or football, the camera will pan to their face. There's a lot of points where you can see them. Either way, just like for a male, body movement has a lot to do with how they're attracted. Also, you said, believe it or not, many girls do actually find the games themselves entertaining for the third time in basically 4 sentences. Backside. Number 5. Girls will not pay attention if you bring them into a sports game. Many girls like going to sport events for the same reason guys do. The food, atmosphere, and energy of cheering on your team in person are just as exciting for girls as they are for guys. Regardless of gender, people who are interested enough in sports decide to go to a live sporting event are going to enjoy it. This, while true, states itself that people that are interested enough. This doesn't prove anything besides that people like sports. Number 6. Girls that are into sports are all lesbians. It's the classic accusation that everyone hears in middle school. Fucking middle school. That a girl who's into sports is butch. I've never heard that term before in my life. Please, God, stop trying to be hip in any way. However, it's important to remember that no matter what context stereotypes like this one are found, a person's interest in no way reflects their sexuality. Unwarranted stereotypes like these should be made based on such little information. If you're going to make the assumption about something as weighty as personal sexual identity, at least take the time to learn more about them than just what sport they play. Lesbians tend to drift more towards what a male audience would be interested in, just because that's what they think they should be interested in. That's what society has basically said that they're supposed to be interested in. You can't make a theory from a middle school accusation. Honestly, you can be whatever sexuality. I never really assume stuff based on people's sexuality. It always takes some learning to get to know something. And while this theory is based off of some little to no evidence, I think it's false because they said it was a middle school accusation, and I've never heard any adult in my life smarter than Donald Trump say something like that. So honestly, the whole assumption that girls are bad at sports or even aren't capable of liking sports hasn't been really around since way long ago. Honestly, these more apply to the more ratchety girls. Like, if I were to talk about my mom, I know my mom loves sports because she likes her teams. She likes, who she likes. And older women are definitely into sports because baseball is part of what America was as a child. I mean, when they were children. See, in the 1960s, they were still playing high school football without face masks, and football wasn't a huge deal. Baseball was all the rage, and a lot of the girls back then knew a lot about sports. This article is obviously written by two BuzzFeed teens. Not necessarily saying they're from BuzzFeed, but they are definitely the kind of person that BuzzFeed would have writing for them. Because BuzzFeed is all about social fucking PA. I mean, political correctness. And honestly, political correctness is one of the stupidest things that happened to our society in a while. While it does help with saying some stupid shit, like Donald Trump saying, I can grab any girl by the pussy if I want to because I'm famous. Some people do stupid shit like that, but most of the time, it's not that crazy. So, based on the assumption that girls like sports because so they can talk to guys, so they don't understand the sport, and they watch sports because they think the players are attractive, or that they themselves are lesbian, or girls will not pay attention if you bring them to a sports game, is utterly false. It's not something that we should really be concerned about as a society. In fact, if you want to be concerned about something important, get a degree in something besides gender studies. Because, you'll probably be working at Subway for a while.